You are looking at a Phoenix Airbus A319 in a very stormy day here at Piedmont Triad, Greensboro, North Carolina. How you doing, everybody? CJ here. We are surrounded by storms. CJ here, your classic jet sim pilot, and today we're doing something a little different. This is a really cool little airline called Skybus. We'll talk about it more once we're en route. But Skybus was an airline that operated for a couple of years, and it was a really interesting airline. It had some crazy liveries. I got dispatched today in probably in easily their most plain livery, but the colors sort of are easy jetish, but it's a cool story. They operated only 319s. And they were, look at the lightning, and more lightning. They operated only the 319, but I want to get in the airplane before I get struck. All right, let's get going. The first thing we're going to do is power up the airplane. Battery voltage looks good. Power 1, power 2, and then bring in the external power. We'll start the IRSs in their deal. Get the nav and logo lights on. And now let's load up the flight. Our flight today is going to take us from Greensboro back to the home base, the main hub of Skybus, which was Columbus, Ohio. Greensboro was also a major hub for them. Served a lot of Florida destinations, up the East Coast a little bit. And they, again, we'll talk about it more once we're in the air. But they served a lot of very interesting destinations. That makes it kind of doubly fun to fly. Anyway, let's get the loading going. All right, let's start the overhead. Our user getting work done.
Please don't load aircraft until the fuel
Captain only. Ground control on. Do CVR test. There we go. Crew supply goes on. Fire test. APU. Engine 1.
Catering vehicles are on their way.
Engine 2. All those switches are in place. Fuel pumps are all off. Genesis faults, and that's normal. External power's on. I know these need to sit a little bit down. Turn the strobes to auto. No smoking sign to auto. Arm the emergency lights. About 3 o'clock position on there, so the CVR picks up the PAs. We do have a pet or two to put in the hold. Weather. Sorry about that. I'm gonna make everybody seasick. All right. GSO 24010, gust of 17, 10 miles, 4,800 broken, 25,000 broken, temperature 29, dew point 23, altimeter tree 000. Cumulonimbus, distant northeast. Rain began at 5 after the hour ended at 31. So we'll go ahead and go with wet numbers. 3000. Constraints, arc 10 miles. Turn the VORs on. Our we are flight plan today. At 340 via the Trisha 1 departure. Trisha 1, we've got no ATC on at the time, but we will be in VATSIM. Trisha 1. Departure, Trisha 1. Start. Okay. Trisha 1 off the 2-3s will be, looks like a left turn to 270. Yep, to 1440, then a 270 heading. Got it. Any speeds? Radar required, DME, GPS, RNAV1, transponder code is issued by clearance. And that looks good. Top altitude is signed by ATC. So since we have no ATC on, we'll go ahead and take it right up to 340. It's a pretty short flight, so we'll see how quickly we can get up there. Coming across, we start back here. Good flow, good flow. We would pull them out, check the radios, make sure they can be heard. Brightness is how we want them set. Displays all look good, not displaying anything funny. 3000. About 880, 880, 880. Brake fans are off. We'll go ahead and get the initialization information. And that is us, Greensboro to Columbus. All right, we've got our preliminary load sheet. I am running the WinWing MCDU as well as the FCU for the Airbus. Excellent add-ons. If you are able to, highly recommended. CFM 56 engines are correct. We've got a current database. Do our init request. We are Skybus, flight 62. M572 Sierra X-ray. Cost index of a 31. And we're at flight level 340. And the temp at top of climb today will be minus 44. We'll go ahead and get the winds requested. Short flight, about 50 minutes en route typically. We've got our winds. Go to the flight plan. Okay, out of Greensboro, we're going to be departing runway 23 left. Just got to switch that on flight plan here. 23 left. Trisha 1. TARS. Insert. At Columbus, we are going to be 10 right. 10 right was closed for a long time over the winter. Slats, huh? So Scarlet 2 McGinns. Scarlet 2 McGinns. Scarlet 2, the ending waypoint is slats. So I tell you what. 10 right. Let's just put E-Patty. That's the farthest out fix on the straight ahead. And yeah, no, that'll be good. Don't need anything special tuned for the departure out of here. Go to page 2 of the init. Zero fuel weight today, 122.7. And our zero fuel weight CG is 31.9. Black fuel, 12,360. 12.3. And we are flight planned for 0.4 for taxi, 4.4 for the trip. Actually, the trip is going to be more like 5.2, but we'll see. 3.2 for the alternate. It's domestic. We don't have a route reserve like that. And our final time will be 2.3. So we got 2.4 extra, and we should have at least 5.5 in the tanks when we land at Columbus. All right, for our perf performance calculations, we will come back to the whoop, wrong one. Let's try departure. 23 left. Sync our preliminary load sheet. Live in the weather. Let's call it wet. And we'll calculate it. 29, 39, 43. 129, 139, 143. Flaps 1. With a trim setting of down 0.0. So that's good. No trim. And a flex temp of 66. A lot of flex today. Now, you can, of course, with the just send it directly to the McDo, but I like to 1890, 1890, 2390. I like to put it in manually. It just helps me remember the numbers too, so something doesn't look right. All right, and we'll go to the second. We'll just copy the active over, and we'll sit on the perf page. How are we doing with the loading here? I haven't heard of any PA. Oh, there we go.
Please take your seat. To help us ensure an on-time departure, we would kindly ask that you keep the aisle clear, enabling all remaining customers to board. Your seatbelt can now be fastened, ready for departure. This is a no-smoking service. Thank you for observing this policy.
Okay, not sure why we're not seeing anybody load. Let's check out GSX here. Says they're boarding. There's been some funkiness.
Bus is coming.
Oh, it's because we're waiting on buses because there's no gate. There's no gate. What is this? Oh, okay, sorry. They just pulled them up. All right, well, I guess we're going to make him come through the rain. Very good. They're already almost done with the luggage. So let's take a quick look at our taxi out and departure.
Passengers boarding starting.
Here we go. All right, that makes me feel better. Okay, we're up here at gate 23. We're going to push back. We'll plan on taxiing out via Kilo. The only hot spot marked on the chart is this intersection over here, and it says it's because it's a confusing taxiway. Turn right onto taxiway Kilo 6. Only cargo is north of Kilo 6. So want to make sure that you do not. We need to turn right onto Kilo 6. Don't want to go past this. Cargo aircraft only over here. And our departure, like we said before, we'll be taking off the 23 left. We'll climb to 1,440 feet. So at or above 1,440 feet, we'll commence the right turn to heading 270. And then at some point, we'll get Wayne as our first fix. Our route of flight today takes us out northwest of Greensboro, south of the Pulaski VOR, right around Bluefield.
This way, please. This way, please.
Up over Charleston, West Virginia.
Boarding pass, please. Hello.
And then on into Columbus.
This way.
On the arrival into Columbus, we're going to be on the Scarlet 2 arrival. So from McGinn's, we'll cross Scarlet at between 17 and 10,000. Our next crossing restriction is OHEC below 7,000, and then slats 210 knots and 6,000. That'll put us on the downwind for the ILS
Good afternoon.
10 right approach. The weather.
Hello.
Yep, so here's our route. Tricia Tars, direct McGinn, Scarlet 2.
Boarding pass, please.
We're scheduled to be off at 1930Z. It's about 12 minutes from now.
Good afternoon. This way.
Winds out of the southwest during the climb. Yeah, southwest until about halfway through the flight, then they'll turn out of the northwest. I don't see any major shifts in wind.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
260, 23, 30, 10. The speeds are fairly consistent. They have a little bumpiness as the winds shift on our way to McGinn's, but I don't think it's anything to be too concerned with.
If you are seated in an emergency exit row or a front row bulkhead seat, all of your items must be placed into an overhead locker.
Boarding pass, please.
Once you have safely stowed your cabin bag, please take your seat. To help us ensure an on-time departure, we would kindly ask that you keep the aisle clear, enabling all remaining customers to board. Your seatbelt
All right.
will now be fastened ready for departure.
We do have SIGMETs in the area,
Observing this policy.
valid until 1955Z, so that's right after our departure. Mostly to our south and southeast, and some other SIGMETs also to our south, although clearly, as you can hear, we've got some weather around us. Right now, 24013 gusty 19, 10 miles, 3,400 broken, 25,000 broken, temperature 29, 3002. Towering cumulus, distance southwest,
This way, please.
and the forecast is the rain showers in the area. Columbus with occasional 2 miles visibility in
This way.
thunderstorm. Columbus is much better. Just some broken clouds, 2,100, 2,600, 5,500, 25,000. Temperature of 26. and light winds out of the northwest, which is why runway 10
Passenger's bus is coming.
will be pretty reasonable. Some showers in the vicinity east and southeast, but nothing really showing up, just this 30% chance of some showers. Other than that, should be pretty reasonable. Not a big deal. Alright, let's see how we're doing with the load. We only got about 25 people more to board, so let's get the APU fired up.
Passengers boarding starting.
That should not be showing as armed. Wait for the door, or I'm sorry, the flap to open. There it is. Go ahead and get it started. Let's go listen to it. Wait for it to get speed. We'll start our 2-minute timer. Here we go. Now, the reason why you have a timer before you typically turn on your bleed air off of the APU is to allow the exhaust fumes from startup to dissipate so they don't get sucked back into the cabin. And cause unpleasantness. Yeah, GSX has not been... I get the passengers loading, but then they disappear when they go to sit down, so that's been sort of disappointing with 24. I've loaded and unloaded a couple times. Just doesn't seem to be working right. I'm gonna have to keep playing with it.
Cabin crew, boarding is now complete. Any remaining ground crew,
All right.
please leave the aircraft.
All right, let's go through our checklist. Cockpit prep's complete. Gear pins and covers are collected, or are installed. Fuel pumps go on. Sign goes on. Since fueling's complete. Just about ready to get the bleeds going. IRSs are in nav. Fuel quantity, 12,360 pounds. That's what we need. And barrel ref is set. Go ahead and get that door closed. Start the bleed. We will turn off the external power so when they pull the plug on the outside. And windows and doors are closed. A beacon is coming on. Thrust levers are at idle. Parking brake is set.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
122.8. We're just a hair heavier. 31.9. We'll make sure there's no change in our performance. Shouldn't be
checks
for 100
completed.
pounds.
Bypass pin inserted.
29.39.43. Nope, no change. We are good to go. We're getting hooked up. Here comes the tug.
Locking gear.
All right, we're just getting hooked up. Sorry, that was Mrs. CJ. Had a question for me. And there's little CJ. Bye. Nope. Okay. Are we going? Continue. There we go. We want nose left.
Release parking brakes.
Parking brakes released.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Here we go. Yeah, this is the this is an FSTO kind of freeware version of Greensboro. We definitely could use a good Greensboro. I mean, it's such a, you know, it's a pretty major, important airport, especially for like ops that I like to recreate, which involve a lot of airlines that aren't around anymore. All right. We will turn number 1. Here we go. We got N2. Watching for some oil pressure rise. There it is. Oil pressure. Fuel flow.
Ladies and gentlemen, please observe the cabin crew
Light off.
closest to you as we are about to demonstrate the safety
Watching EGT
features
for that hot start and
Airbus
N1 for the hung start.
A319. Thank you.
Ready to shut it off. Shut off the fuel if we need to. Although the Airbus should do it for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard
There's the power transfer.
Airbus A319. Please pay attention to illuminated signs
Set parking brakes.
instructions, including the following safety procedures.
Brake is set.
Safety card found in your seat
Unlocking gear.
contains important information
Turning
about
2.
exit routes, oxygen masks, life jackets,
N2.
and the brace position, which you must adopt if you hear brace, brace.
See if we can
There
hear
are
this start.
8 emergency exits on this aircraft. The cabin crew are now pointing out the exits nearest to you. Please be aware that your nearest usable exit may be behind you.
Yeah, there it goes.
Emergency lighting will guide you to an exit. In an emergency, leave all baggage on board. Your seatbelt is fastened, adjusted, and released as shown. It must be fastened whenever the seatbelt is
So good.
Tow truck disconnected.
So
Bypass
good.
pin removed.
If the air supply fails,
Left is
masks
clear.
will drop
Right
from
is
above
clear.
you. Pull a mask towards you to start the oxygen. Put the mask
All right,
over
thanks
your
very
mouth
much.
and
Give us the wave off the right-hand side, and let me see the pin.
pull on each
Have a good one.
side
We'll see you
to
next time.
adjust. Put on
All
your
right,
own
start's
mask
complete.
before helping others.
Bleed off.
If we
APU
land on
off.
water, take a life jacket from under your seat.
Starter
Remove from
goes
the
to
pouch
norm.
and put it
And
over
our engine
your
control
head.
goes to norm.
Pass
Arm the speed
tapes
brakes.
around your waist
Flaps to
and
1.
click together. Pull the strap to adjust. Do not inflate the life jacket inside the aircraft. When outside, inflate it by
Where is she? There she is. She's walking away.
popping up. Blow into this tube.
Do a quick control check.
Light and whistle
There's down.
attracting attention. The
Up.
cabin crew can assist you
Neutral.
with life jackets for children.
Left.
Your tray table must
Right.
not be stowed.
Neutral.
Armrests down.
Rudder.
Window blinds open.
Full left.
And seatbelt fastened. Further
Full
information
right.
regarding your safety on board
Neutral.
can be found in the in-flight
Trim
magazine.
was 0.
We hope
And
you
now we
have
can
a
arm
great
the speed
flight.
brakes. So the reason why you arm the speed brakes is because Taxi light on. Brake off. Still no ATC. No ATC. Make sure I'm on the right frequency here. 19.1 is CTAF. Greensboro traffic, Skybus 62, taxiing from the terminal to runway 23 left to Greensboro. We have brakes. Good pressures. On. We'll go to system 1 because we definitely want that running today. We're looking above us for the climb out. Takeoff config is normal. After start checklist, anti-ice is not required. ECAM's checked. Pitch trim 0. Rudder trim 0. And then as soon as we get on the parallel up here, we'll run through the before takeoff checklist. I didn't see any traffic around.
Cabin crew, seats for takeoff.
Yellow.
The cabin is now secure for takeoff.
Alrighty, we'll see you at Columbus. You don't have to do a whole bunch of oversteering in the 319. Pretty short airplane. A lot of people call it the smash bus because of the idea it being it's more difficult to land. I have a little bit of Airbus experience in my past. But honestly, I don't recall the 319 being substantially different than the 320. I do not have any 321 experience. The airline I was with, we only had 319s and 320s. And unfortunately, the bulk of my experience was not in the actual airplane, but in the training environment, the sim. So, again, takeoff via, well, obviously, it's going to be a left seat takeoff. Runway 23 left. Be a straight out departure on runway heading till at or above 1,440 feet. Then it'll be the right-hand turn via the Trisha 1 departure to 270. And then we'll get vectors onto the rest of the SID. Plan on climbing straight up to flight level 340 unless we get ATC on. Right now the radar looks fairly clear, but we'll take a scan once we line up. Make sure there's nothing off the departure end to surprise us. V speeds 129, 139 is rotate, 143 is V2. Anything happens, engine fire, engine failure, major malfunction, or any loss of directional control prior to V1 will be an abort. After V1, we will only abort if the airworthiness of the plane is in question. Otherwise, we'll climb straight out. We'll stay on runway heading, climb to 4,000 feet. Correction, we'll climb to 5,000 feet and handle the problem in the air. Any questions? No? Good. Here is Kilo 6. This is where we want to turn because we cannot proceed past this on Kilo unless we're cargo aircraft. And I see why it's a hotspot because it looks like up there there's another, like the end of the runway is up there to the right, but it's not. It's actually to, looks like another cargo pad. Anyway. Alright. Let's let them know we're ready to go. Greensboro traffic, Skybus 62, departing runway 23 left to the departure to the northwest, Greensboro. There's a weird little hill there. Alrighty. We're going to hold in position here for just a second. There's runway 23 left. And, whoops, let's take a scan above us on the radar. Radar doesn't work with Phoenix, so we'll just put on terrain and call it a day. Alright, lights, camera, TRA, and above, and action. Here we go. Spool them up. Bring them right to 50. A little forward pressure on the yoke. Two stable engines. Power is set. Airspeed's alive. There's 80 knots. It's V1. Rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. Right up to 15 degrees or so. There's 1440. Start the right turn. That's kind of bumpy. Alright, we're getting the lever climb flash, but I'm going to wait for a positive trend on the airspeed before I do it. There it is. Master caution. ATC transponder. Oh. Sorry about that. Didn't have the top one flipped. Making a little left deviation around this shower. Flap 0. Speed checks. Flaps 0. After takeoff checklist. Landing gear is up and indicating up. Flaps are retracted. Packs are on. Cabin is pressurizing. After takeoff climb checklist is complete. And it's right at, want to deviate left for weather. So let's go to a heading of about 240. Looks like a rain shower right in front of us. Of course, we're doing it visually because the radar doesn't work. We'll try this heading. Let's go a little further before we make the turn northwest. Because it looks like that cloud is awfully dark off to our right. There we go, I like that better. Alright, let's go direct. Weigh in. Insert. See how that looks. If we don't like it once we're in the turn, we'll change our direction. Alright, we're through 10,000. I'm going to leave everybody sat down for a little while longer. Leave the crew sat. Alright, that's not looking so bad. Yeah, I think we're above it. Above it and past it. Let's just stay seated a little, leave the crew down just a little longer. Just want to make sure that we don't venture into these tops. There's Wayne up there. It's our first waypoint on the departure. I think, go ahead and turn on the autopilot. The fun part of the departure's over. Let George fly. Might be a couple bumps as we go through the tops of these build-ups. So just leave everybody sitting a little bit longer. In fact, this is also probably where I pick up the phone and say, yeah, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to ask you all to stay in your seats just a little bit longer. We have some tops we may be skimming through. Might have some bumps in it, but I'll give you a ding when it's good, when you're good to go. All right. On VATSIM radar, which is kind of like using NexRad in the plane. You can see there's this blob of red, which is probably what Flight Sim is trying to show with those buildups right there. So, like I said, I think we're above them. which when something's that red, you typically expect it to see extend up quite a bit more than 18,000 feet or so. But it's a short flight. There's no rush. There's flight level 180. We'll go to standard. And 183 now. No rush. There's no real service on this flight. It's a short one. All right, I think we're good to go. We can let him up. And through 180, we can turn off our turn-off lights, our wing lights, and basically start rigging for cruise. Just passing Trisha now, on our way to Jeeps, and then TARS. There's no more constraints to worry about, so I'll come out of constraint mode, and I like to fly with the airport on. It's nice to see what airports are around you in case you need them. We got Greensboro 30 miles behind us, so if anything were to happen now, obviously we would turn right around and head back to Greensboro. All right. We're doing good. Doing good. On our way up to 340. See, we'll hit our top of climb about 60 miles from now. And then our top of descent, we'll have about 70, 80 miles before we got to start down. So not a very long flight. But while we're climbing, let's talk a little bit about Skybus. So Skybus, like I said, was based in Columbus, Ohio. It was marketed as a low-cost carrier. It operated from 2007 in May till April 2008, so 10 months. So sorry, I said a couple of years before. It was actually founded in 2004, and that's the number I had in my head. But yeah, it actually only operated for about 10 months, and it was sort of modeled after Ryanair, and then took EasyJet's colors. So there you go. But it was modeled after Ryanair, and their mission was to be the least expensive airline in the U.S. And they flew to secondary airports, right? So although Greensboro was a hub for them, instead of Chicago, they flew into Gary, or they flew into Milwaukee. Instead of Philadelphia, they flew into Wilmington, Delaware. Instead of Jacksonville, they flew into St. Augustine, and so on, right? They flew into Punta Gorda instead of Tampa, right? So they picked sort of second tier airports in those market areas, not unlike Southwest did for a long time. They operated exclusively Airbus A319s, so that the idea being the commonality of fleet and a relatively inexpensive airplane to operate. They had some pretty far-flung routes, though. They flew from their Columbus base. They flew to Bellingham, Washington, for a while. They covered all the East Coast, and a lot of Midwest destinations. It was interesting. While I was after the virtual airline I'm flying with for this is Piedmont Virtual Airways, and I've talked about them on previous streams, but a link is on my channel description. If you like flying retro operations that aren't around anymore, like this Skybus, sort of niche airlines, a lot of retro ops from well-known carriers like Northwest, like Piedmont. PVA is a great place to be. The admins of the site take great care in curating schedules, interesting schedules for interesting airlines. We just, in fact, added an airline recently that was an exclusively a 727 operator. I'll have to feature that on a future stream. But anyway, getting back to Skybus, and choosing Columbus was interesting. They chose Columbus because it was right after, in 2007, it was right after America West pulled out of Columbus. America West had Columbus as a hub for a few years. And when America West pulled out, that's when Skybus saw the opportunity to move in and take over and use it as their hub. So they were trying to fill a void. And it was founded by a couple of guys that had airline experience. One of them, I think, had some experience in corporate with Eastern Airlines, and had a very interesting start. Expanded quickly, but then, of course, just couldn't make it go, as a lot of startup airlines go, and they maybe they overexpanded too quickly. But they had this sort of kitsch where they would have 10 seats on every flight that they would sell for $10. A lot of gimmicks like that. Their liveries actually were sort of a gimmick. Now this livery I'm flying today, right, is a relatively plain one. There we go. Right, there's not much to it. They got their little SB, the butterfly, Skybus on the tail. They got their SB on the winglets. But some of their other liveries, and if you like seeing airlines like this, I'll let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to do a few more. But some of their other liveries are pretty wild and almost billboardish. Not with their fonts, with the Skybus name and logo, with funny sayings. One of them says "Only birds fly cheaper." So a lot of marketing, a lot of cutesy marketing, I guess you could call it, and they even had plans to start flying to Mexico and the Bahamas. But what got them ultimately was they were just too small to have anything, and too widespread to have anything go wrong. And I guess during their first Christmas season, they only had 7 airplanes in their fleet, and 2 of them went down. Not went down like a crash, but went down maintenance-wise. Weren't available. And as you can imagine, that leveling at 340, that was sort of a death knell to a young, struggling airline that, even though they were very well capitalized and very well funded, in fact, I think I remember reading that it was one of the best funded startup airlines ever. So they had a lot of backers, a lot of support, I would imagine, from Columbus, right? And that's part of the reason when America West pulled out of Columbus being a hub. I'm sure the airport and the city were incentivizing Skybus to come in. So, but yeah, that first Christmas, their only Christmas season they had, heavy travel season, they had 2 of their 7 airplanes went down. So a third of their fleet was down for maintenance, and that caused some problems reputationally, and tough for a young airline that already has enough going against it. Just being new, and then to have cancellations and major delays over a very important travel period. So that was it. And a few months later, they ceased operations. Yeah, in April. So they managed to keep clawing for about 3 or 4 months. Yeah, 25% of its scheduled service had to be canceled over a 2-day period. And it wasn't just because of having maintenance issues with a couple of their planes. They also didn't have de-icing contracts in place prior to that winter season. So if you're stuck and don't have contracts, guess who gets to put at the end of the line when you're at airports, when there's a lot of airplanes needing de-icing? And guess how your pricing compares to those who have contracts, right? It's going to be a lot higher. So that didn't help either. So anyway, they had a very short but very sort of impactful. I want to say they were really one of the first ultra low cost carriers in the U.S. They were impactful on the communities they served as well, because they chose these second tier, collar destinations around the main ones. I was doing some research. This is what I started to say before. I started to do some research that involved finding out where they parked, and the schedules we're using. There are 20 destinations. So I wrote emails to all these airports if I couldn't find out what gates they used. I was able to find some gate information by looking at old posts from news articles, when they started service, or on travel bulletin boards. I was able to find some Skybus trip reports where they mentioned the gates. But I wrote emails to several airports, and I was really kind of shocked at how I don't know, you can't see somebody's eyes light up when they write an email, but I could tell their eyes lit up when they wanted to talk about Skybus. More than one said it was a great 10 months. I guess it was they were a good tenant, in spite of the maintenance issues they had. They were They were good for the communities they served, and of those that got back to me, airport officials that got back to me with gate information, several of them commented about how it was a great 10 months. They loved Skybus, and they all regretted that they couldn't continue their service. So there you go. That's Skybus. Pretty interesting little airline, and fun to recreate their ops, right? I mean, this is a perfect. They're not super long haul, so if I need to just kind of get a flight in a hurry, it's easy to hop in a Skybus Airbus at Columbus, and do a quick flight. We're already approaching our top of descent, coming up in less than 40 miles. The bottom of this will be 6,000 feet, so we'll dial 6,000 on the FCU, and then we'll start our descent when we're about 10 miles out. Let's put in our destination data. Weather at Columbus. Altimeter 3000. Temperature is 27. Wind is 060 at 8, gusts of 17. 060 at 8. And on the ILS approach, which is what we're going to do, 1,009 feet goes in the barrow box right here. It is a Cat 1 approach, so therefore you use a minimum descent altitude, a decision altitude versus a decision height. So 1,009 feet. And we'll leave the RNAV approach. We're just coming up on McGinn's. Yep. Our descent is right before McGinn's. Scarlet between 10 and 17. And by the way, the H tells me that there's a hold there in case we're asked to hold there as published. Unlikely, but just in case. And then we've got our bottom altitude. So in the Airbus, you can put in the bottom altitude, and you just want to make sure you make all the crossing restrictions. There's 3 other aircraft inbound. There's me in 16 minutes. Oh, somebody else an hour and a half away. Or there's 2 inbound, sorry. And there's 1 departing. All right. So, we're going to descend. We've already briefed the arrival. 210 knots, 6,000 feet. That'll put us in the right downwind. The ILS is what we're going to be planning on. ILS runway 10 right at Columbus, Charlie Mike Hotel, dated 16 April 2021. 111.75 Alpha Quebec, India is the identifier. 101 degrees inbound. 2,300 at the glide slope intercept. Descending to 1,009 feet, and 1,009 is in on the barrow for the decision altitude. 3,100 feet is the minimum safe altitude around the Appleton VOR. If we need to go missed, we'll climb to 1,400 feet and then a right turn to 3,000, direct to the button outer marker. And then we'll hold over here, the locator outer marker. Pretty unusual anymore to be holding at an NDB, but there you go. Performance-wise, we are in the... they haven't had any rain recently. Let me double check. Yeah, they're landing 10 right. Information Delta. There's showers in the vicinity to the southwest. You know what? We'll call it wet, just to be safe. So we will do a performance calculation. Otherwise, we're approaching our top of descent, so we'll go ahead and start down. What do we weigh? Right now we weigh 130,800 pounds. Let's call it 30.7. Low, idle, manual land, flap full. Let's call it medium. Plenty of runway. Low A brake, no reverse. Plenty of runway. We're in good shape. We'll make our announcement out back. Folks from the flight deck, just begun our descent on the Columbus area. Should have you on the ground here in about 30 minutes or so. Weather in Columbus, light winds out of the east, some scattered clouds, 28 degrees. It's about 84 Fahrenheit. We're glad you're claiming along with us today on Skybus. We hope to see you again on a future flight. Flight attendants, prepare for arrival. Ops call, no ADC required because we left on time. All right, we're past McGinn's. We're on our vertical descent path. Expecting the ILS. We'll tune it in. ILS 10 right, 111.75. That is the correct frequency. Alpha Quebec India is the identifier. Once we're getting closer to flight level 180, the transition level, we'll do our descent checklist. Oops. All right. Monitoring our descent. We've got us slowed up quite a bit in the descent. Let's pick that up a little bit. Mach 7.8 down to 290. I usually do that during cruise. Got to talking about Skybus history and did not reprogram the descent. But no reason to slow down. Not expecting many bumps. We may slow down once we get to the tops of the clouds. Although there's not a tremendous amount of vertical development around here. Clouds are a little bubbly on top, but not a lot. And looking at the next rad, looks like mostly level 1 with just pockets of additional showers. So in the real world, you can use NextRad, and in fact, in my real world flying these days, I do use a NextRad feed, but you use it more for strategic planning, not for tactical decision making, right? You wouldn't want to use it to pick your way through storms like you can with onboard weather radar. And the reason is because simply the data that comes through from NextRad that is then uploaded to you in the aircraft, there's a delay. Could be anywhere from a minute or two to 8 or 9 minutes. And you know, when you've got an active storm front and active storms that are moving at 40, 50 miles an hour, you know, that 8 minutes can make a huge difference when we're talking tactics. So if I'm flying real world in this and I'm getting to Columbus, I see this little pocket of heavier precip. Well, it just disappeared. So the display just updated. So no real decisioning to make. This just happened to work out where we flew kind of in between these storms. These storms seem to be moving, might even be retrograding, moving the other way. But remember, we headed out a little bit west before we made the turn north right here. And that we were doing visually. Always relying on your eyeballs. Yeah, as you zoom in, that we'll stay at this level for discussion's sake. So I'm going to assume the storm is moving somehow to the east. And what I would do is I would look at it. I would pull up a picture from a few minutes ago just to see which way my suspicions are correct. So if it is moving to the east, I have a decision to make. I can either try to stay to the right of it, or I could make a turn and come this way. Because the issue is we're landing on runway 10, right? So we're going to be landing on one right, which means I'm going to have to make my way off to the left anyway. So one of two things. I could either, you know what I would probably do? I would probably, when talking to approach, ask to stay to the east of it. And I'd try to stay well out in advance and then come around for either 10 left. Yeah, and again, this is assuming I don't have onboard radar. That's probably what I would do. Now, it's not a perfect system, right? Because you can see how it disappears when I zoom in, and it shouldn't do that. Just a limitation. I have another one up, too. It's part of Volanta. So Volanta is showing me in the thick of it, and then it ends about 20 miles ahead. So again, I got to beat Scarlet between 17 and 10. I'm still on my VNAV path, so no worries. So yeah, the Volanta radar feed is showing I'm around the heaviest area. And this almost like, it almost looks like an infrared type of photo. So this is that area that we were seeing before. So I would keep an eye on it, try to figure out which way it's moving. And since it's sitting just south of the airport, probably moving in some sort of easterly direction, I would probably opt to visually, if I can, stay around it, and if I have to go around the north side of the airport and land, I will. But in the sim, I'm good. Alright, altimeter 3000 it was at Columbus, so we'll come out of it. I like to dial it up there. 3000, coming up on Scarlet. Yeah, it looks like we're going to make it no problem. Although that area, now to me, looks like it might be this. See how we've got some vertical development over here? And there's, you know, it's relatively clean over on this side. But it's just that one pocket of level 2, 3, and 4 activity. It's too bad the radar doesn't work very well in flight sim because that would add a whole new layer of fun. All right, let's go through the approach checklist. Briefing for the arrival is complete. ECAM status is normal. Seatbelt signs are on. Barrel ref. Oh, I didn't get them on. Nice job. Barrel ref is set. Minimums are set. 1099. Engine mode select is normal. Approach checklist complete. And actually, I can see through over here. So as long as I don't go right through these buildups, only because it probably be kind of bumpy. We got a left turn coming up here that'll take us to about a heading of 335 or so.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will shortly be landing. Please ensure your cabin bag is safely stowed with its laptop inside. Your tray table must be stowed. Armrests down.
Get our exterior lights on. Should have done that at 180. All right, we're past Scarlet. Our next constraint is 6,210 knots at slats. Ah, this is working out perfectly. We're going to be just to the left of those build-outs, which probably, aren't dangerous, just uncomfortable. And right in between, and I can see through here. And there's some more vertical development over here, but I think we'll be in good shape. So, nice. Well done, us. Yeah, those clouds look pretty good, don't they? I find that in 24, the sort of the in-between layers, the way it looks, the way it feels, is really good. Tops of the clouds are nice, too. And I didn't mind 2020's clouds. I still don't when I fly 2020. But these do look pretty darn good. All right, coming up on 10,000 feet. Sterile cockpit. This is where we'll start our slow. It's at 250 knots. Look at that, right between the layers. Pretty good. Got a few bumps. I see that. I see that little bit of wingtip shake. Gosh, that looks good. Tell me that does not look good. I dare you. So cool. I love this. All right. Let's get our head back in the game. All right, we've identified the localizer, so we're picking up the signal. 111.75. We're just now picked up the DME, so it's identified. Once upon a time, you had to actually listen to the ILS, so that if you lost it, you would know. Now, the identifier... I believe, I know it is on my, in my experience, but I'm going to guess that the computer in the Airbus decodes the Morse code and then displays the identifier when it has a good signal. I don't know that for a fact, though.
Cabin crew must now be seated for landing. Thank you.
All right. Speed's looking good. Below 10,000, landing lights on. Not many bumps in the clouds, so that's kind of nice. Which is kind of surprising. I would expect a few. What was that stutter all about? So again, Piedmont Virtual Airlines, PVA. Link is in at my channel description. If you like flying retro, kind of niche-y liveries, if you like flying retro airlines, like Northwest, like Piedmont, like Pan Am, come on over. It's a lot of fun. I encourage you to join. Doesn't cost a thing. Don't have heavy requirements. The only thing we that's required of pilots is you have to fly the type of aircraft that you book. You can fly any aircraft you want as long as it's in the schedule that way, and you have to fly with an accurate livery. That's really all. We use VAMSys, which I found to be pretty good. Alright, coming up on 6,000 feet. And in a moment we'll slow it at 210 knots. Flying through some rain. Temperature's good. We don't need any anti-icing. Alright, making our left turn towards slats, starting our slowdown. And the D on the nav display before we made the turn also tells us that we're decelerating into approach mode. So the plane will slow to green dot, which is our L over D max. Best lift over drag ratio. There's slants. And we're going to vector down to 4,000. CTAF 32.7. Because I see there is an airplane now. Columbus traffic, Skybus 62 for Airbus A319. We're on the right downwind off of the Scarlet Arrival, ILS 10 right, Columbus. Some more rain just here south of the airport. So what I'm going to do is we're descending to 4. I'm going to make 4, and then I'm going to we'll come out here to a views, and we'll try to intercept right around the views. Once we get closer to Yeah, no, our views will be good. Alright, leveling at 4. Speed, Alt Star. Turn to 010. You can see our glide slope, we're just a hair under it. So, it's a good place to turn in. Skybus 62, set maintain 3000. 3000. Skybus 62. Columbus traffic, Skybus 62. We're on a about a 12-mile right base, runway 10 right. It's Columbus. Got a Southwest flight sitting at the gate. The Alpha gates. We are going to gate 21.
2,500.
Which seems like it was part of the gates that that Skybus actually used. All right, turn right, heading 070 and intercept. 070. Into approach mode. Alt Star, Loc Star. Columbus traffic, Skybus 62. 1 mile final. Runway 10 right. Shoe is the final approach fix. Once the glide slope comes alive, we'll start bringing in the flaps. Glide slope's alive. Flaps 1. Speed checks. Flaps 1. Flaps 2. Speed checks. Flaps 2. We want gear down at about 1 dot high, which is what we got, and flaps 2. There's flaps 2. Gear down. Gear down. Speed checks. Green, 3 green. Flaps 3, speed checks, flaps 3. Glide slope star. Down we go. And flaps full. Flaps full, speed checks. Landing checklist, please. Cabin crew's been advised. Auto thrust speed. Auto brake low. ECAM memo landing. No blue. Landing checklist complete. We are clear to land. Columbus traffic, Skybus 62, 5 mile final, 10 right. Columbus. Rainy approach. love this. This looks real. This looks real. Alright, we wanted to be stable by 1,000 feet since we were IFR. And we are. There's runways in sight. 1,000 feet, stable, sync 700. Winds are shifting around a little bit. My airplane.
Hundred above. Minimum
Continue. We're visual.
100.
Check.
50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. Retard. 5.
Two in reverse. Spoilers. Decel. Knots. Reverse restored. Manual braking. I could have turned there. Should have turned there. That would have dumped us right at the terminal too. Oh well. We are going to
Find valid airport data at this position.
oh, come
Services
on. Restart Coatl. Alright, we're clear. What's up? Columbus traffic, Skybus 60. We're clear at runway 10 left. We're going to be taxiing terminal via Delta, going to Bravo 21.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cabin crew will shortly be leaving their seats to perform safety-related duties. However, we ask that you remain seated until the fasten seatbelt sign has been switched off. Portable electronic devices for messaging, calls, or internet access may now.
We'll taxi straight ahead,
Please make
Delta
sure you take your personal
1,
belongings with you.
then turn left on
Check
Delta.
in the seat pocket, underneath the seat, and in the overhead lockers. Do take care opening the overhead lockers as items may have moved during flight. Smoking is not permitted until you reach a designated smoking area. On behalf of the captain and the crew, it has been our pleasure looking after you today. Our ground crew will help you complete your journey.
There's that Southwest jet. I gotta install liveries for traffic. Nice of him to be on the radio. And he's on 22.8. I mean, look. Don't get me started. What's the point on being on VATSIM if you don't want to sort of play the game, right? All right. Gate 21. No. Menzies. All right. Alright, we can also shut down 2. Turn on the hydraulic pump. APU bleed. Number 2, shutting down. Gate 21 will be right up here. They had this sort of these odd gates, 19, 21, 23. In those days, though, I think Columbus, it looked like from the pictures, the gates were all ground level gates. They weren't elevated. But at least that's what it looked like on the pictures. I could be wrong. I mean, this is 20 years ago almost. Turn the text light off so we don't blind them. Come on. So close. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Boop. That's gonna have to do. Brake is set. I've got power to the airplane. Seatbelt signs off. Other engine down. Get the fuel pumps. Turn off that pump. Open the door.
Cabin crew disarm doors.
And as soon as we're below 10% on the engines, N1. Beacon off. And that should start GSX and the deboarding process. There we go. After landing, flaps are retracted, spoilers are disarmed, APU has been started, radar is off, standby. Oh, did I pull in with the radar on? I did. I've been flying too many airplanes recently. I don't have an after landing checklist. Parking. APU bleed is on. Engines are off. Seatbelts are off. External lights are as required. Fuel pumps are off. Parking brake is set.
Ladies and gentlemen, when disembarking, please
Our brake
take
temp should be
care
plenty
and hold onto
good.
the handrails while walking down
Yeah,
the stairs.
125
Please
degrees
ensure
is the
that you
hottest.
supervise your children. And for your own safety, do not
All right, there we have it. Well, how about that? We cheated death and wooed women once again on the Phoenix 319, flying the quirky and fun Skybus livery. There's that Southwest taking off. Oh, look, he's leaving some vapor trails. '24 must have that built in as an effect. It's pretty cool. Anyway, thanks for joining me today, folks. Oh, twins. Hope you enjoyed it. Join us again on another video soon. Let me know what you'd like to see. I'd like to do some MD-11 ops is what I'm thinking of, and some historic liveries. But anyway, I'm happy to do whatever. So this is CJ. I'm your Classic Jet Sim pilot. Keep the shiny sign up, and we'll see you next time.